Hi, besties. Today is the new moon in Gemini, and I want to show you the chart. Okay, let's share this screen. Yes, here we go. 8:18 a.m. We have the sun and the moon right there, boop, boop, exactly at 16 degrees of Gemini. But wait, because they are also exact with Venus at 16 degrees of Gemini. Now, again, we just had Venus Cazimi, okay? That was a couple days ago. That is where Venus is the absolute closest to the sun that it can possibly get in kind of like every way. These charts are really fun and great, but I think they can lead to this misunderstanding that we're working with a two-dimensional space when we're really not. I mean, we are super not working with a two-dimensional space. We're dealing with many, many, many millions of miles. And all these planets are hanging out. One's way back there, one's up here, one's over there, and they're occupying this three-dimensional space. Um, but when we have to look at it, on paper, the only way to look at something on paper is two-dimensional. It really simplifies what we're actually dealing with. Nevertheless, Venus is pretty much the closest that it can possibly be with the sun. Um, so we're going to come back and talk about that because this is a really interesting stellium. A stellium is when you have three important planets or luminaries within 7 degrees. Some people define it differently. They'll say it's 5 planets within one sign or 3 planets in one sign. I was taught 3 planets or luminaries within 7 degrees, and this definitely counts 3 in one single degree. So let's talk about the new moon really fast. The new moon happens when the sun and the moon occupy the same slice of the pie on that star chart map. And when that happens, you cannot see the moon because it's where the sun is. Does this make sense? If the moon is reflecting the light of the sun, it cannot do that if it is right next to the sun. And so when it is right next to the sun, you can't see it. It's hidden by the sun. Historically speaking, new moons were used to plant seeds. Okay, like literally, farmers would literally plant seeds on the new moon because for whatever reason, plants do better when they are planted during the influence of the new moon. And people have recognized this over many thousands of years. Nowadays, we don't take that kind of stuff as seriously, but I always talk about how on the new moon, we uh we use that time to plant some new seeds spiritually. Okay, this is a great time to say, okay, what do I want in my life? Let's plant some seeds. And the exercise that I always recommend is that you take out a piece of paper, just go write down, between 1 and 10 things that you just want in your life. What are the seeds you want to plant? I want to plant the seed of having a more positive relationship with my kid, my peer, my spouse, my coworker. I want to have enough money to feel good about buying an appetizer at the restaurant. We're gonna write these seeds, and then I personally don't recommend making a plan. I don't recommend doing anything with them. With a real seed, you plant it in the dirt and then it just grows on its own. And nobody has to tell it what to do. No one has to make a little step-by-step plan. No one has to make it a flow chart. It just grows. If we plant these seeds on purpose, we're using our powerful brains and our agency to choose what we want. We're writing it down. And then what's our job? Our job is to hydrate, get enough water, get enough nutrition, like that nutritious soil, okay? We're gonna fertilize ourselves by eating well, drinking well, maybe getting out in that sunshine, just like a plant, okay? And we trust that our Creator has blessed us with the desires of our heart and that those things are gonna work together for us and set things up so that we can have the lives that we want. Okay, so we're just planting the seed today. If you want to use the energy happening today, that's how you're going to do it. You're going to get out a piece of paper, you're going to use your own hand, and you're going to write down some things that you want to plant in your life. You're going to set that paper aside. You can throw it away. You can just put it in a spot and check in on it in about 6 months. And 6 months from now, we're going to see how the energies around those desires have shifted. Okay. Um, it's a very low-key way to take advantage of energies that are happening anyway, energies that people have been using for thousands of years in a agricultural setting. And if you do have plants and you're planting a garden, today is a great day to go work in that garden, plant some seeds, literally, and do what you need to do around the garden. That reminds me of something that I've seen before about hair cutting, where if you want your hair to grow faster, you trim it at certain moon phases and it shifts how your hair grows. I have no idea if this is true, and I don't have a reference right now, but I'll Google it later and maybe I'll make a video about that because I did see it and I thought, oh, that's like really interesting. So if you're trying to grow out your hair, maybe let's talk about that more in the future. But let's talk about today's exact new moon because um, every new moon has a different flavor. Now, there are 12 signs in the zodiac, and I know. If anybody brings up Ophiuchus, I am aware of that. There's some debate over if there should be a 13th sign. Well, I don't fall for that, and I use 12, and I feel like 12 is appropriate. But the new moon is going to happen every year in one of these 12 signs. That was a terrible way to put that. Every month, it moves to the next sign. Okay, so we are constantly having new moons in different signs of the chart, and it goes around in the wheel, so one at a time. And of course, there are 13 new moons every year, not 12. So one lucky ducky in here is going to get 2 new moons during the course of a year. And, it depends on how things work out, but yeah, 13 moon cycles in a year. So this year, this month, we're having a reset in the area of Gemini. How a new moon works, the sun represents your core personality and the moon represents like your heart. I kind of think of the sun as like kind of like your brain and your thought processes, body processes, and the moon is more like your heart and your feeling processes, okay? The sun is like your inner masculine, the moon is like your inner feminine, okay? And when you have a new moon, having them both line up, it's like a little switch goes off and it can reset those energies in your life. And I know I talk about resets a lot. And somebody posted in my Facebook group the other day, she was like, oh man, I'll add this to all the other resets I'm going through, all the astrological resets that are affecting me. And the thing is that, yeah, all of us are going through major resets all the time. And when you are looking at the stars with this level of granularity, when you're looking at it every day, when you're looking at it every month, then you see very clearly how every day of your life, we have this opportunity to reset, right? I mean, like the sun goes down every day and then it rises again in the morning and it's a reset. I think it can make sense to downplay the importance of all of these resets that we get invited to experience because they happen so much. And if you really think about it, if you put the pressure on yourself, every day is a new day. I better make this day the best day ever. I think sometimes that can be appropriate and sometimes that can be it can be heavy. It weighs you down and stresses you out, and that's no fun, right? Like nobody wants to live every day like it's this high pressure environment and you have to make it count, right? So but at the same time, it is a high pressure day and we do get the chance to change everything every day. Every single day, we get to do things totally differently if we want to. We get to make all sorts of changes if we want to. You know, the only thing holding you back from jumping on a plane to Jakarta right now is you. Like, really, like there are ways to do all sorts of weird stuff. And the reason you're not doing them is because of something inside of you. Every moment contains the potentiality of us changing everything. And we mostly don't take that, which is fine. And I think appropriate in many cases, right? Obviously. But it doesn't detract from the fact that we are constantly inundated with huge opportunities to completely change everything if we want to. Okay. So as this sun and moon are doing this dance around the chart, and every month we get a reset in a different sign of the zodiac, right? Whatever you have in your own chart in that slice of the pie is going to get activated and have a little reset. Now, again, you've lived through this a bazillion times, okay? Most of my audience is older than I am. I feel like I've been around the block a little bit. You've been around the block a little bit. We have seen dozens and dozens and dozens of new moons over the course of our lifetimes. I mean, however many years that you are, you've seen that many dozen new moons and plus some. And so you've seen them, you've lived them. Were they all crazy life-changing? Like, no. But were some of them? Probably yes. And probably you just didn't realize it because you don't wake up every day and check your phone for what are the moon transits and so on. But sometimes these things are important. And sometimes, it just gets lost in the ebb and flow of life, and that's okay. This exact month, we're having a reset in the area of Gemini. So if you have your star chart, again, I always recommend elixology.com to run a free star chart. Your free star chart will, you just check out what you've got going on in Gemini, and that's the stuff that's going to be resetting today. It might be big and it might be little, but that's the energy that's kind of getting triggered. It's getting jiggled up today. You're getting an opportunity to think about yourself in a new way. When that sun and that moon are right on top of each other, how you think and how you feel can get kind of jumbled up, and it can be hard to tell the difference between your thoughts and your feelings. Um, but that's okay. That can be okay because it's a necessary thing, especially if you're a very feeling oriented person and you don't think that much about your feelings. If you're very thought oriented and you don't feel your feelings, this is a powerful time to set the balance. Okay, we're swinging the balance the other way and helping us all kind of recalibrate. Again, this happens every month in different areas of our lives. So we're always getting this chance to reset. And then if you know about it, then you get to be more conscious about it, which is why I like to talk about it, because I think being conscious of these things is helpful. Now, do I live my entire life by this stuff? No. I think it's interesting. And I think it's fun and it can be helpful in your life to be conscious of it. And I think it's not worth it to become a super weirdo. I feel like the scriptures are clear that we shouldn't worship the stars, we shouldn't plan our whole lives around them. And I personally do not do that. Um, I think it's good to know and good to be aware of, and we continue living our lives. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So let's go back to this chart. Okay, we have a lot of interesting stuff happening in Gemini this time. Of course, we have the stellium of Sun and Moon and Venus. And then we have Mercury and Jupiter. Woohoo! Very exciting. Venus deals with money and relationships. She's the big receiver of the chart, and she receives. And so with this new moon, we get this reset of this Venus energy, which we just had a big reset of this Venus energy with Venus Cazimi 2 days ago. And so what are we really looking at? We're looking at a global invitation. Every person on the whole planet is being invited to rethink how they are receiving things in their lives. Okay. And I think that we are going to see this in a lot of different ways for different people. Especially, I mean, this deals with the economy, right? And so and it deals with our personal finances and our global finances. Everyone in the whole world individually and nations are being invited to take a look at the checkbook and say, okay, does this make sense? Like, is this even possible? Because I know that a lot of, we're very aware, right, that many budgets have not been balanced in many years, especially on a global scale, right? This new moon is inviting us to take another look at it. And I don't know. So we'll see. I mean, on a personal level, we get to individually say, okay, God, remove the blinders from my eyes and show me what I'm not seeing about my finances. Show me what I need to do to make things work. If things are not working for you, this is your big chance. Like, this is a fabulous day to really spend some time with our creator and say, okay, what do I need to do differently? What information do I need that I've not had? Like, can I please have more information? Can I have more spiritual information? Um, Help me figure out what's going on, please. This is a great day to start getting real about our financial needs with our creator. Okay. I have a lot of thoughts about that, but I think I'm going to save them for another day. um, this Mercury and Jupiter right here, of course, they were exact just a few days ago as well, earlier this week, really bringing our minds to issues of abundance with Jupiter. And all of it comes back to this Gemini energy. Gemini is two-faced, okay? It deals again with what is real and what is not real. It's you versus the you in the mirror. That is Gemini, okay? And so we get to really evaluate right now our usage of money, the things that we are receiving in our lives, because of that Jupiter and Venus both being in that same zone. We get to sit back and look at those things and say, okay, is the way that money is showing up for me, is that authentic to me or not? Am I spending money in a way that is appropriate to me and like authentic to me and to my true values or not? because I think a lot of times we do spend money in ways that are not in alignment with our real values. Of course, any time that you spend money, it is in alignment with some value that you have going on in yourself. This is a great day to really like dig into that stuff and find out what are you manifesting. And by that I don't mean like what are you, grabbing out of the universe, but rather like what is your behavior calling to you, okay, when it comes to money. These are the thoughts to be thinking about. Now, sometimes our let me figure out how to put this correctly. Our money behavior is always going to resonate at some level with something that's going on inside of us, okay? But sometimes that thing inside of us is a wound that needs to be healed, and it is not our true authenticity. If we are off spending a bazillion dollars on stuff we don't need, because we have an overspending addiction, because we cannot get it within ourselves to like restrict the budget or something, is that you living in your truth? No, your truth is that you cannot afford those things. That is your truth. Your truth is you can't afford that at this time. The truth is, it is time to recombobulate, reconfigure how we're going to make this work. We need to figure out a new way to attract more income. I say attract, but that really makes it seem a lot more floofy than I mean. We need to find a way to add more value to this world and earn income because other people desire to pay us so that we can afford the things that our psyche is driving us to attain. I hope this makes sense. I think that on a global level, we're kind of cruising for a bruising, you know. And I've done a bunch of work on debt, and if you search Ali Duzet debt in the little search bar, some videos should come up on stuff about debt. I've done a debt session on aliduzetclasses.com. Super recommended, and I think it's only $5, so go do it. Maybe it's 15, I can't remember, but just do it. It's like really good. And if you are dealing with a chronic debt issue, this is a really excellent time to be dealing with that today, especially because that Venus, Sun, Moon being exact at 16 degrees of Gemini is going to help you be more open to resetting on this stuff. But on a global level, kind of everybody in the whole world has been living in debt. And it's crazy town. It really just is so crazy. If you think about it, historically speaking, people would they built their own houses, and they were exactly what you would expect a house to be that was built by one guy or a couple of guys. Might be one room, might have not great walls, you might have some bugs in there, might have a dirt floor, you might have to go pee at an outhouse, might have to walk there in the winter to get there, and it's not very fun. But the thing is that that's what people could afford. I mean, like, that's what they earned. They earned what they had, and they lived that way. And now we buy these houses on like 30-year mortgages. I heard that now 40-year mortgages are becoming a thing, which is crazy, but it does make sense because one single human being cannot possibly create. I mean, they can, but it's very unusual for a regular person to create so much value that they can trade that value in for the value of indoor plumbing, right? And like electricity and solid walls that there's no bugs coming in, right? It takes an enormous amount of work for one human being to add the value that it would take to live a modern lifestyle. And it takes you 30 years of working to earn it. Of course, our house prices right now are vastly inflated, even though they already were inflated because of all of these inflation issues. And if you search Ali Duzet inflation, I have a bunch of videos about that as well. But the fact remains that on a global scale, basically almost everybody in the whole world is living on borrowed value. We're living on borrowed wealth we haven't created this yet. I did not earn this house yet, you know? But most people haven't earned their houses, and most people have not earned their lifestyles. And my guess is that in the next couple of years, we had that Pluto return in 2022. I guessed that we were going to see a 12-year unraveling culminating in 2034. So now we're 2 years in, we've got another 10 years of the slow unravel. But one of my guesses here is that we're going to see a big reversion to people having to live lifestyles that they have earned. And so what might that look like? I mean, really, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like it can be as simple as looking up how much you owe on your house and seeing if you could afford to pay that off. Like, have you earned that? No? Then you may have to live on what you have truly earned and what you can earn. And for most of humanity, what you could earn was an outhouse and a one-room house that you built yourself. So anyway, gall, sorry, I like get on these tangents. Sorry guys, but as we're heading into, you know, the future. And today we have this new moon with that Venus there. I personally do think it's really important to consciously go into today planning to shift out of our debt energy. It's time to get real about what have we earned. And if we have not earned that thing, maybe we have to say no to our own souls, which is hard. And it can activate that like deprivation feeling and like I know I experience it. I do it too. I'm like playing the game myself as well. But we're going to have to start getting real about what have we earned, and we're going to have to start getting real about what more can I earn. If I want something better, what am I going to do? What am I going to put out into the world to have something better come back for me? Okay. So anyway, all of that is to say, I recommend doing the debt session today. Okay, and I'll link the inflation session as well. Is that the one that I was talking about earlier? Yeah, I talked about debt and inflation. Um, let's rethink how we're facing our money. Okay, this is really, really critically important because in the modern age, money runs everything, and most of us don't have land. Most of us only have money. If we're going to survive off of something, it's not like we can go into our yard and forage for things and like have livestock back there that can feed us. Most of us, all that we can count on for our survival is money in the bank. And so, what do we do as that money is drastically getting devalued? What do we do when the prices are getting higher for everything? What we're going to have to do is get real about what we have earned, and we're going to have to earn more. If that is what the outcome of that reckoning. But step one is going to be to convene with our creator and have a real heart to heart and be open and humble about the answers that are coming, which is never that fun in my own experience. But okay, there you go. Happy new moon in Gemini. Wow. Okay. Sorry to make it all kind of like heavy in here. But the good news is that you're aware of this, and many people are not. You don't have to be surprised by all of the turns of events that are on the cusp. This will not be shocking to us. We knew it was coming. We're going to see it unfold. And we get to choose into peace because we're going to partner with our creator all along the way. We are going to go ahead of time and ask our creator, what are the lessons I need to learn right now to spare myself suffering later? And that's something that I have really believed in since I was a child, since I was probably 12 years old. I thought if every bad thing is a trial to teach us a lesson, which I don't necessarily believe anymore, but at the time I did. And I said, okay, if that's really true, then I wish I could learn my lessons without the trials. And I just said, okay, God, teach me the lesson through prayer without the trial, please. Like, can I please just ask you, God, what is the hard thing that I need to understand to prevent my suffering later? I write it down. I take action. I've done that since I was a child. I strongly recommend it. This is the time to start asking for those divine answers, taking those steps forward so that you can start shifting your life before things become a disaster. You get ahead of the curve. That's why you and me hang out. That's why we're totally best friends, because we're ahead of the curve. We are asking these tough questions. And we're saying, okay, God, teach me the thing ahead of time. So when the big surprise shows up, it's not a surprise, so that I'm already prepared. I'm already ready to go. Okay. We're building our faith. We're building our skills. We're changing our hearts right now so that we haven't made in the shade as things get more and more in upheaval. We are okay. You are okay. Tap it in. You are okay. I'm okay. Tap it in. Things are good. Go work on your debt session. I'll link it. Um, it might be $15. Sorry guys. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, okay. Have a good day and I'll talk to you tomorrow.